Harlan Creedy paid $20 for a rusted safe at a county auction, and what he found inside would tear his entire town apart. For 30 years, something had been buried beneath his hedgerow, leaking into the soil, seeping into the well his wife drank from every single day. She died without answers. The doctors never found a cause. But the maps hidden in that safe told a different story, one that powerful people had paid good money to keep silent. When Harlan started digging, they didn't just push back, they came for everything he had left. This is the story of a man who lost his wife, then discovered that the land he loved might have been the thing that killed her. Harlan Creedy stood in the dust behind the county surplus lot. The afternoon sun cut low across rows of broken furniture and rusted equipment. His hands were still greasy from the auger repair that morning. The loan review letter sat folded in his truck. He should have gone home. Lot 47, the auctioneer called. One safe, origin unknown. Who'll start at 20? The safe sat on a pallet near the back fence. Rust had crawled across every surface. The door was dented, and the dial was gone. Harlan raised his hand before he understood why. 20 to the man in the tan jacket. Do I hear 30? No one spoke. The gavel dropped. Harlan paid cash and loaded the safe into his truck bed with a forklift's help. You planning to crack that thing? The lot attendant asked. Scrap metal, Harlan said. Maybe 50 pounds of steel in there. Good luck getting it open. Harlan drove home through fading light. The safe rattled against the wheel wells on every turn. He backed up to the machine shed and dragged the safe onto the concrete floor. The rust left orange streaks on his gloves. He found a crowbar and wedged it into the door seam. The metal groaned but held. He tried again. His shoulder burned from the morning's work. The door did not move. Stubborn? He said to no one. He circled the safe and looked for weak points. The hinges were solid beneath the corrosion. The lock plate was warped but thick. He could drill it, maybe, or cut it with the angle grinder. But not tonight. His wife Ellen had always said he bought trouble at auctions. She was gone 3 years now. He still heard her voice when he made bad decisions. Just scrap, he said. That's all. He pulled a tarp over the safe and walked to the house. The kitchen light was the only glow for half a mile. He ate cold leftovers and stared at the loan letter on the table. Numbers he could not change. The safe waited in the shed. He would ask around tomorrow. Someone would know how to open it. Someone would tell him it was worth the trouble or not worth the trouble. He turned off the light and climbed the stairs. Sleep came slow. He dreamed of rust and metal and doors that would not open. Morning light filled the machine shed. Harlan pulled the tarp off the safe and studied the lock plate. Again. The rust was worse than he remembered. He needed help. He called Maeve Alder at the county records office. She had been Ellen's friend for years. Now she was something between neighbor and obligation. I bought a safe at the surplus auction, he said. There's a serial tag on it. Can you tell me where it came from? Why do you care? Maeve asked. Curiosity, and I need to know if it's worth opening. She was quiet for a moment. I'll come by after work. No promises. Harlan spent the afternoon on tractor maintenance. The loan numbers ran through his head. Falling margins, rising costs. The bank wanted answers he did not have. Maeve's car pulled up at 5:30. She wore her county badge on a lanyard. Her hair was shorter than the last time he saw her. This is it? She asked. That's it. She crouched beside the safe and scraped rust from the serial plate. Her phone light caught the stamped numbers. This matches a closed storage annex, she said. County decommissioned it 8 years ago. Everything was supposed to be destroyed. Supposed to be, Harlan said. "The surplus lot gets leftovers sometimes, things that slip through." Harlan ran his hand across the dented door. "There's something inside. I can feel the weight shift when I move it." Maeve stood and brushed off her knees. "You want to know what's in there?" "Don't you?" She looked at him for a long moment. Her job was safe. His farm was not. They both knew what risk meant. "I have a friend with cutting tools," she said. "We could open it tomorrow. Carefully." "Why carefully?" "Because county records are supposed to stay county records, and I want to know why this one didn't." Harlan nodded. They agreed to meet at noon. Maeve drove away as the sun touched the tree line. He walked back to the safe and pressed his palm against the cold metal. Something waited inside. Something old enough to be forgotten. He wondered if he should have left it at the auction. Too late now. The angle grinder screamed through the lock plate. Sparks flew across the concrete floor. Maeve held a fire extinguisher while Harlan cut. The drill had failed. Brute force was all that remained. The grinder bit skipped once. Harlan steadied his grip. The last section of metal fell away. "That's it," he said. He killed the grinder and set it aside. They stood over the safe. The door sagged on its hinges. Harlan pulled it open with both hands. Rust flakes scattered across his boots. Inside lay a stack of papers wrapped in oilcloth, a ledger with a green cover, a wax sleeve holding dark rectangles. "Negatives," Maeve said. She lifted the sleeve towards the light. "Old film, maybe 30 years. Harlan opened the ledger. The first page read, "Applications Night," in typed letters. Below it ran columns of initials, dates, and numbers. "I know these initials," he said. "RC is Caleb Rusk. He runs the co-op now." Maeve unfolded one of the papers. It was a hand-drawn map of field grids. Lines crossed sections that did not match any crop pattern Harlan recognized. "These aren't drainage tiles," she said. "The angles are wrong." Harlan traced a line with his finger. It ran through his hedgerow. An X marked a spot 50 yards from his property fence. "What were they mapping?" he asked. "I don't know, but the dates in this ledger match the year the annex closed." Harlan felt fear settle in his chest. The initials belonged to men who still lived here, men who still ran things. "I need to show this to someone who worked the fields back then," he said. "Old Man Weller," Maeve said. "He tiled half the county before he retired." Harlan folded the map and put it in his jacket. The negatives stayed with Maeve. "We don't tell anyone else yet," he said. Agreed. They locked the shed. The safe stood open behind them. Whatever it had hidden was now their burden to carry. The ledger's first page burned in Harlan's memory. Applications. Night. Initials he recognized. Old Man Weller lived on a gravel road 3 miles east. His farmhouse needed paint. His yard was full of old equipment. Harlan parked beside a rusted tile cart. Maeve stayed in the truck. This conversation needed to be quiet. Weller appeared on the porch. He was thin and bent. His eyes were still sharp. "Harlan Creedy," he said. "You need tile work?" "I need your memory." Harlan climbed the steps and unfolded the map. Weller's face changed when he saw it. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "County surplus. It was in a safe that should have been destroyed." Weller's hands trembled. He touched the grid lines with one finger. "Some of these aren't for water," he said. "What are they for?" Weller looked past Harlan toward the fields. The silence stretched. "There was a drought year," he said. "The co-op couldn't move product. They had drums, overflow from applications, nowhere to put them." "Put them where?" Weller shook his head. "I won't step onto that field. I won't say more." "Why not?" Because the co-op kept us alive that year. The county kept the lights on. Everyone did what they had to do. Harlan felt anger rise in his throat. He pushed it down. One of those X marks is on my land, near my hedgerow. Weller's eyes met his. Fear lived there, and something else. Shame, maybe. Then don't dig, Weller said. Leave it buried. Some things stay buried for a reason. My wife drank from that well for 20 years. The words hung in the air. Weller's face went pale. I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry for a lot of things. Harlan folded the map. He walked back to the truck without another word. Maeve saw his face and did not ask questions. He drove toward home. The X on the map sat exactly where his hedgerow met the drainage ditch, 50 yards from the house. He would dig. He had to know. Dusk turned the sky orange. Harlan backed the backhoe toward the hedgerow. Maeve stood near the fence with a notebook and a flashlight. Right here, Harlan said. He pointed to the ground where the X should be. How deep? Maeve asked. The map doesn't say. We go slow. The bucket bit into soil, black earth piled beside the hole. Harlan watched the depth. 2 feet, 3 feet. The bucket struck something, a dull scrape, metal on metal. Stop, Maeve called. Harlan killed the engine. He climbed down and took the flashlight from her hand. The beam caught a curved surface in the dirt. It's a drum, he said. They dug by hand around the edges. The lid was dented. A faded label showed a trade name Harlan did not recognize. Discontinued pesticide, Maeve said. She photographed the label with her phone. This hasn't been made in 30 years. A faint odor rose from the pit. Sharp, chemical. Wrong. Cover your face, Harlan said. They stepped back from the hole. The smell followed them. There's more than one, Maeve said. She pointed her light deeper. Another curved surface gleamed below the first. Harlan felt sick. His hedgerow, his land. His wife's illness had started with headaches and fatigue. Doctors never found a cause. We can't dig more tonight, he said. The fumes are too strong. What do? We test the water. We pull records. We don't tell anyone until we know what we're dealing with. Maeve nodded. Her face was pale in the fading light. They covered the pit with plywood and dirt. Harlan drove stakes around the edges to mark the spot. Anyone walking by would see nothing unusual. He cleaned the backhoe bucket with a hose. The water ran dark and then clear. Harlan, Maeve said, if this is what it looks. I know. The co-op, the county, they knew. I know. They stood in silence as night covered the fields. Somewhere beneath the soil, drums of poison waited, drums that had waited for 30 years. Harlan looked toward the house. Ellen's house. Ellen's well. He would find the truth, whatever it cost. Morning brought gray skies. Harlan stood at the shallow well behind the house. He held an empty sample bottle from the farm supply store. The well had served 3 generations. Ellen had drunk from it every day. He had drunk from it every day. He lowered the bottle on a cord and pulled it up full. The water looked clear. It always looked clear. He capped the bottle and labeled it with the date. The testing lab was 40 miles away. He would drive there after chores. Maeve called at 9. I'm pulling records today, she said. Zoning approvals, disposal logs, co-op invoices from the drought years. Be careful. I'm a records clerk. Looking at records is my job. People might notice what you're looking at. She paused. Let them notice. I want to know. Harlan taped the pit more securely. He added a second layer of plywood. The smell had faded overnight, but he still felt it in his throat. He drove to the lab and handed over the sample. The technician asked routine questions. Harlan gave routine answers. Results in 3 days, she said. We'll call. He drove home through flat country. Grain elevators rose in the distance. The co-op's logo was visible from 5 miles away. That night he lay in bed. Sleep would not come. He stared at the ceiling and thought about Ellen. She had complained of tiredness first. Then the headaches came. Then the doctors and the tests and the treatments that did not work. They never found a cause. Cancer, they said. Sometimes it just happens. Harlan closed his eyes. He saw the drum lid in the flashlight beam, the faded label, the soil that had held poison for 30 years. I should have known, he said to the empty room. But how could he have known? The safe had been sealed. The maps had been hidden. The men who buried the drums had kept their silence. He made a decision. He would not tell anyone else until the water test came back. Proof first, then action. He fell asleep at dawn. The well pump hummed beneath the floor. Maeve found the connection 3 days later. She spread papers across Harlan's kitchen table. The safe came from Annex B, she said. County decommissioned it in 2016, but look at this. She pointed to a disposal log. The entries stopped abruptly in 1993. That's the year the ledger starts, Harlan said. Exactly. They stopped official disposal the same year the night applications began. She pulled another document from the stack. Bank minutes from the County Development Committee. The bank's Operational Support Committee existed during the same period. Look at the names. Harlan read the list. Evan's predecessor, the former co-op manager, 2 county supervisors who had since died. They all knew, he said. They all participated. The bank helped fund equipment purchases. The county looked the other way. The co-op handled logistics. Harlan stared at the papers. His farm was a piece of a larger puzzle, a puzzle that had been hidden for 30 years. What about the negatives? He asked. Maeve pulled the wax sleeve from her bag. I know a photo counter in the next county. They can process old film. No questions. Do it. She nodded. I'll go tomorrow. In the meantime, you need ventilation in your shed. If we're going to look at those prints, we need clean air. Harlan spent the afternoon rigging fans and ductwork. The machine shed became a workspace. He mounted a folding table and hung a light. The water test results arrived by mail. He opened the envelope alone. The numbers meant nothing to him. But the flag at the bottom was clear. Exceeds recommended levels. Further testing advised. He sat down hard on the porch steps. The paper shook in his hands. Ellen's well, Ellen's water, Ellen's illness. He had proof now. Not enough proof, but proof. He waited for Maeve to bring the photographs. Whatever they showed would decide the next step. The envelope held 20 prints. Maeve spread them across the table. Harlan leaned close under the work light. The first image showed a truck bed at night. Drums were stacked 3 high. A man in dark clothes stood beside the tailgate. His face was turned away. That's behind the elevator, Harlan said. He recognized the grain bins in the background. The second image showed the same truck from a different angle. Another vehicle was parked nearby, a pickup with a bank logo on the door. Can you read the plate? Maeve asked. Harlan squinted. Partial. First 3 letters. The third image showed men lowering a drum into a pit. The pit was narrow and deep. Dirt piles surrounded it. This is my hedgerow, Harlan said. His voice was flat. That tree in the background, I planted it the year Ellen and I got married. Maeve touched his arm. She said nothing. The remaining images showed more of the same. Drums, pits, men working in darkness. Dates were scratched into the negative borders. 1993, 1994, 1995, 3 years of burial, 3 years of silence. Harlan's stomach turned. He stepped away from the table. The co-op, he said. The bank, the county, they all knew. They all participated. And they hid the evidence in a safe they thought no one would ever open. Maeve gathered the prints. What do we do now? Harlan looked at the photographs. His land, his wife's illness, his 30 years of ignorance. We can't ignore this, he said. No. We can't quietly fill the hole and pretend we never looked. No. He walked to the window. The sun was setting over his fields. The fields his father had worked. The fields Ellen had loved. I have to know everything, he said. Every drum, every site, every name. That's dangerous. I know. He turned back to face her. His jaw was set. His fear had turned to something harder. They buried poison under my home. My wife is dead. I want the truth. Maeve nodded. Then we find it. Together. The photographs lay on the table. Proof of something that could not stay buried. Harlan made his choice. There was no going back. The bank lobby was quiet. Harlan sat across from Evan Pike's desk. Maeve waited in a chair near the door. I appreciate you coming in, Evan said. He smiled. His suit was crisp. Let's talk about your loan review. I have questions first, Harlan said, about historic committees. Evan's smile flickered. I'm sorry? The Operational Support Committee, 1993 to 1996. Your predecessor was on it. That was before my time. I wouldn't know anything about old committees. Harlan leaned forward. The bank helped fund equipment purchases during the drought years. Equipment for the co-op. I'm curious what kind of equipment. Evan's hands moved to his desk. He straightened papers that did not need straightening. Harlan, I think we should focus on your current situation. Your margins are thin. The review is coming up. I'm aware. Stability concerns could affect your terms. The bank values community relationships. We want to help our neighbors succeed. The words sounded friendly. The tone did not. What kind of stability concerns? Harlan asked. Rumors, speculation, things that might make investors nervous. Evan's smile returned. I'm sure you understand. Harlan stood. Maeve rose with him. I understand, Harlan said. Thank you for your time. They walked to the truck in silence. Harlan's hands were shaking. He knows, Maeve said. He knows something. Maybe not everything. He warned you. That talk about stability, about rumors. Harlan started the engine. He wants me scared. He wants me quiet. Are you scared? Yes. They drove past the co-op elevator. The logo gleamed in the afternoon sun. Harlan thought about the photographs, the bank truck parked beside the drums. We need more help, he said. Someone with authority. Who? Deputy Torres. She has a reputation for straight talk. Maeve was quiet for a moment. She's law enforcement. Once we tell her, we can't control what happens. I know, but we can't do this alone. He turned toward the sheriff's substation. The decision was made. Whatever came next, he would not face it without witnesses. Deputy Naya Torres had a small office. Harlan and Maeve sat in plastic chairs. The photographs lay on her desk. You dug this up yourself, Torres said. Her voice was flat. I found it on my land, near my hedgerow. And you didn't call anyone. I wanted proof first. Torres studied the prints. Her face gave nothing away. These images show illegal disposal, she said. If they're authentic, the drums could be hazardous waste. My well water tested high for contaminants, Harlan said. Torres looked up. You have documentation? He handed her the lab results. She read them twice. This is serious, she said. You need to contact the State Environmental Office. If I do that, they'll shut down my farm. I can't afford that. You can't afford to drink poison either. Maeve leaned forward. We're not asking you to do anything official. Not yet. We just want advice. Torres set down the papers. She studied them both. Chain of custody, she said. If you want this to matter in court, you need proper documentation. Timestamps, witnesses, sealed samples. We can do that, Harlan said. You also need to stop digging. Those sites could be unstable. Fumes could kill you. I understand. Torres was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled a notepad from her drawer. I'll make some calls. Quietly. See if there are other complaints on file. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this is what it looks like, a lot of people are going to be angry. Some of them have power. Harlan nodded. He had already felt that power. The bank's smooth warning. The co-op's long silence. One more thing, Torres said. Document everything. If something happens to you, someone needs to know where to look. The words settled in Harlan's chest. He had not thought about personal danger. Not yet. We'll be careful, he said. Torres handed back the photographs. Be more than careful. Be smart. They left the substation as the sun dropped low. Harlan felt watched. He could not say why. Old Man Weller appeared at Harlan's lane 3 days later. His truck was caked with mud. His face was gray. I need to talk, he said. Harlan led him to the machine shed. Maeve was already there, sorting documents. Weller looked at the papers. His hands trembled. I should have told you more, he said. That day on my porch. Tell me now. Weller sat on a hay bale. He stared at his boots. The drought year was bad. Worst in 40 years. The co-op had product they couldn't move. Drums stacked in the warehouse, no buyers, no disposal money. What kind of product? Old stock. Discontinued formulas. Stuff the EPA was phasing out. Harlan felt cold. They buried it. They hired me to cut interceptor pits, off the books, night work, cash payments. Maeve stepped closer. How many sites? I don't know. A dozen, maybe more. They kept the location secret. I only saw my own work. Why didn't you refuse? Harlan asked. Weller's eyes were wet. Because my farm was dying. Because the co-op kept us planted. Because everyone looked the other way. Silence filled the shed. Harlan thought about his neighbors, the men who had lived through that drought, the choices they had made. I can give you 2 more locations, Weller said. Sites I remember. But don't dig alone. The pits are old. They could collapse. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. Hand-drawn directions. Property lines and landmarks. Harlan took the paper. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm 78 years old. Because I dream about those drums every night. Because your wife deserved better. The words hung in the air. Weller stood and walked to the door. I'm sorry, he said. For whatever that's worth. He drove away without looking back. Harlan stared at the directions in his hand. 2 more sites. 2 more chances to prove what had happened. 2 more reasons for someone to stop him. The second site was at the far edge of Harlan's property. A windbreak of cottonwoods marked the spot. Harlan and Maeve walked the ground at midday. The soil looked undisturbed. Grass grew thick and green. Here, Maeve said. She pointed to a slight depression near the largest tree. Harlan probed with a metal rod. 3 feet down, he hit resistance. Another drum, he said. They dug carefully with shovels. Maeve photographed each layer, the documentation Torres had demanded. At 4 feet, the soil changed color. Darker, wetter, a chemical smell rose from the hole. Stop, Harlan said. The drum lid was visible, rusted and dented. The label was gone. Maeve leaned over the edge to photograph. The soil beneath her feet shifted. Move, Harlan shouted. The wall of the pit collapsed. Dirt poured into the hole. Maeve stumbled backward. The chemical smell grew sharper. Harlan grabbed her arm and pulled. They scrambled away from the edge. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "No, just scared." They stood 20 feet from the pit. The collapse had exposed a second drum beneath the first. Brown liquid seeped from a crack in the metal. "We can't dig anymore," Harlan said. "It's too dangerous. The fumes. And the structure. Weller was right. These pits are unstable." Maeve coughed. Her eyes were watering. "We need to switch tactics," she said. "Paper trails, water tests. Let the evidence build without putting ourselves in the ground." Harlan looked at the ruined pit. 30 years of poison, waiting to swallow anyone who came too close. "Agreed," he said. "We document from a distance. We build the case. We let the state handle the excavation." They covered the site with tarps and stakes, warning signs. "Keep out." The drive home was quiet. Harlan's hand still shook on the wheel. He had wanted proof. He had almost gotten Maeve killed. The evidence would have to be enough. He could not risk more. The second water test arrived on a Tuesday. Harlan opened it alone. The numbers were higher than before. A different contaminant. One that matched the discontinued pesticides in the photographs. He sat at the kitchen table. The paper blurred in his vision. Ellen's timeline ran through his head. The year she got sick. The year the symptoms started. The years of treatment that never worked. The contamination had been in the water for decades. Long enough to cause exactly what the doctors could not explain. Maeve arrived at noon. She found him still at the table. "The results?" she asked. He handed her the paper. She read it twice. "Harlan, this is significant." "I know. This could prove liability. The co-op. The county. They're responsible." "I know." She sat across from him. "What are you thinking?" He looked at her. His eyes were red. "I'm thinking about Ellen, about all the water she drank, about the headaches she thought were just stress." "You couldn't have known." "Someone knew. Someone buried those drums and kept the secret for 30 years. Maeve reached across the table. She touched his hand. "What do you want to do?" Harlan was quiet for a long moment. The anger in his chest had hardened into something colder. "I want to confront them," he said. "The co-op. I want to look Caleb in the eye and ask him what he knows. That's dangerous, if they realize how much evidence we have. I won't show him everything, just enough to see his reaction." Maeve pulled back. "You're testing him." "I'm giving him a chance to tell the truth." She shook her head. "He won't. You know he won't. Then I'll know where we stand." He stood and walked to the window. The co-op elevator was visible on the horizon. The same building from the photographs. "I'm going tomorrow," he said. "With or without you." Maeve sighed. "Not without me. Someone needs to watch your back." The decision was made. Tomorrow he would face the men who had poisoned his land. Whatever they said, he would have his answer. The co-op office smelled like fertilizer and old coffee. Caleb Rusk sat behind a cluttered desk. His smile was wide and easy. "Harlan Creedy, good to see you. What brings you in?" "Questions," Harlan said. "About history." Caleb's smile stayed fixed. "What kind of history?" "Legacy disposal. Old product that didn't move. What happened to it?" Caleb leaned back in his chair, his hands folded across his stomach. "That's ancient history, before my time as manager." "You were here. The records show your initials." The smile flickered. "I was a field hand back then. I signed delivery sheets. I didn't make decisions." "But you knew what was happening." Caleb was quiet. His eyes moved to the door, then back to Harlan. "Those were hard years. The drought nearly killed us. Everyone did what they had to do." "What did they have to do?" "Survive. Keep the co-op running. Keep the farms alive. Harlan pulled a photograph from his pocket, one of the blurred images from the safe. A truck bed loaded with drums. Do you recognize this? Caleb looked at the photograph. His face went still. Where did you get that? It doesn't matter. Do you recognize it? I don't know what you're trying to prove. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm asking questions. Caleb stood. His friendly manner was gone. Harlan, I think you should go. Whatever you think you found, it's old news. Let it stay buried. Like the drums? The words landed hard. Caleb's jaw tightened. I can't help you, he said, and I won't discuss this further. Harlan placed the photograph on the desk. Keep it, something to remember. He walked out without looking back. Maeve waited in the truck. Well? She asked. He knows everything, and he's not going to talk. What now? Harlan started the engine. Now we wait, and we watch what he does next. The co-op building shrank in the mirror. Somewhere inside, Caleb was making phone calls. The game had changed. Everyone knew it. The accident happened the next evening. Harlan was hooking up his tractor when the PTO shaft guard gave way. The spinning shaft caught his sleeve. He pulled back hard. The fabric tore. His arm escaped by inches. He killed the engine and sat in the dirt. His heart pounded. The guard had been secure that morning. He checked it himself. He examined the mounting bracket. Fresh tool marks scored the metal. Someone had loosened the bolts. Torres arrived within the hour. She photographed the bracket and took notes. This wasn't an accident, she said. I know. Someone wanted you hurt, or scared. Probably both. Torres put away her camera. You confronted Caleb yesterday. Word travels fast. Harlan nodded. He had expected pushback. He had not expected sabotage. You need to back off, Torres said. Let me handle the official investigation. There is no official investigation. There will be. I'm filing a report tonight. Maeve arrived as Torres was leaving. She saw the damaged bracket and went pale. They tried to kill you, she said. They tried to warn me. Killing comes later. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing. They went inside. Harlan locked the doors. Maeve pulled out her laptop. We need backups, she said. Everything we have. Photographs, documents, test results. Where? Cloud storage. Multiple locations. If something happens to us, the evidence survives. They spent 2 hours copying files. Every photograph, every record, every page from the safe. When they finished, Maeve looked at him. What's the plan? Harlan thought about the sabotage, the tightening circle, the men who wanted him silent. One public demonstration, he said. Something undeniable, something with witnesses. What kind of demonstration? I'll show them what's in the ground, on camera, with officials present. That's risky. Everything is risky now. At least this way the truth gets out. Maeve nodded slowly. When? Soon, before they have time to prepare. The backup drive sat on the table, insurance against whatever came next. Harlan stared at the locked door. Somewhere out there, people were planning his silence. He would speak first. Evan Pike called 2 days later. His voice was smooth as always. Harlan, I'd like you to come in. I have good news about your loan. The bank office felt different this time. Smaller. The walls closer. Evan sat behind his desk with a folder open before him. I've reviewed your situation, he said, and I've found a solution. What kind of solution? A refinance package. Better terms, lower payments. It would solve your immediate problems. He slid papers across the desk. Harlan looked at the numbers. They were generous. Too generous. What's the catch? He asked. Evan smiled. No catch, Just community support. Harlan turned to the second page. A clause was highlighted in yellow. Confidentiality agreement regarding unverified claims. What is this? Standard language. It protects both parties from rumor and speculation. It's a gag order. It's a mutual agreement. You get financial relief. The bank gets assurance that unsubstantiated claims won't damage our reputation. Harlan read the clause again. The language was careful, legal, airtight. If I sign this, I can't talk about what I found. You can't make public accusations without evidence. That's reasonable. I have evidence. Evan's smile tightened. You have old photographs and speculation. Nothing that would hold up in court. Harlan set down the papers. He looked at Evan for a long moment. My wife died. The water was poisoned. And you want me to sign away my right to say so. I want to help you save your farm. This is a good offer. This is a bribe. Evan's face went cold. It's the only offer you're going to get. Harlan stood. He left the papers on the desk. Then I don't want it. He walked out of the bank. The sun was bright and hard. His farm was still in danger. His loan was still due, but his voice was still his own. Whatever came next, they would not buy his silence. Commissioner Ruth Barrow drove a county sedan. She parked in Harlan's yard on a Thursday morning. Her suit was dark blue. Her smile was professional. Mr. Creedy, she said, thank you for seeing me. I didn't know I had a choice. She followed him to the porch. They sat in plastic chairs. The field stretched flat and quiet behind her. I'm here about conservation funds, she said. The county has programs for land restoration. I thought you might be interested. What kind of restoration? Hedgerow management, native plantings. We could buy that section along your drainage ditch, above market price. Harlan watched her face. Her eyes were steady. Her hands were still. Which section exactly? The one causing you trouble. The one with the old disposal site. So she knew. Of course she knew. The whole county knew by now. And if you buy it? The county handles remediation, quietly. The land gets reseeded. Everyone moves on. Everyone forgets. Barrow's smile stayed fixed. Everyone heals. That's the goal. She pulled a folder from her briefcase. Papers with county letterhead. A contract. The price is generous, she said. Enough to clear your debts. Enough to start fresh. Harlan took the folder. He read the first page. Then the second. There's a confidentiality clause. Standard language. To protect all parties. To protect the county, not me. Barrow leaned forward. Her voice dropped. Harlan, I understand you're angry. You have every right to be. But think about what you're doing. You're one man against institutions that have existed for decades. Institutions that buried poison in my hedgerow. Institutions that kept this county alive during the worst drought in memory. Hard choices were made. Not all of them were right. My wife died. I know. And I'm sorry. But exposing this won't bring her back. It will only destroy what's left. Harlan closed the folder. He handed it back to her. No. Barrow's face went still. Think carefully. I have. The answer is no. She stood. Her professional smile was gone. I hope you understand what you're choosing. I understand exactly. She drove away without another word. Harlan watched the sedan disappear down the gravel road. The offer had been real. The threat beneath it was realer. He had refused them all now. The bank, the co-op, the county. There was no one left to refuse. Only the truth remained. Maeve called that evening. Her voice was flat. I've been suspended. Harlan gripped the phone. What happened? My supervisor called me in this morning. Said there was a complaint about misuse of archives, unauthorized access to sealed records. The documents from the annex. They didn't say that directly. but the language matched Barrow's office. Harlan felt anger rise in his chest. They're punishing you for helping me. They're warning me to stop. Will you? Silence on the line. Then, no, but I need to be smarter about it. She arrived an hour later with a cardboard box, files, thumb drives, photocopies. I moved everything important before they locked my access, she said. Public terminals, personal storage. They can't take what they don't know about. Harlan helped her carry the box inside. They spread the documents across the kitchen table. This is everything, she said. Disposal logs, committee minutes, invoice records, the whole story. What do we do with it? Maeve looked at him. Her eyes were tired but steady. We use it. One public demonstration. Something they can't deny or bury. When? The elevator runs a night shift on Fridays. Trucks coming and going. Witnesses everywhere. 3 days from now. 3 days. Harlan thought about the timing, the evidence, the risks. Torres needs to be there, he said. And someone from the state. I'll make calls, quietly. They worked until midnight. Planning, organizing, preparing for what came next. Maeve slept on the couch. Harlan sat by the window and watched the dark fields. They had been pushed to the edge, suspended, threatened, sabotaged. But they still had the evidence. They still had each other. Friday would decide everything. Old man Weller came back on Wednesday. He looked older than before, smaller. I have something for you, he said. They sat in the machine shed. Weller pulled a notebook from his jacket. The cover was stained and worn. I kept records, he said. Back then. Dates, mileage, locations I could remember. Harlan took the notebook. The pages were filled with cramped handwriting. Why did you keep this? Insurance, in case they ever tried to blame me alone. Weller's hands shook. I was scared. I'm still scared. Maeve opened the notebook. She read the entries aloud. April 14th, 1993. Pit work at Creedy Farm. 6 drums. Cash payment. May 2, 1993. Interceptor trench at Morrison property. 4 drums. June 18th, 1993. Night work behind elevator. 8 drums. County truck present. The list went on. Dozens of entries. Dozens of sites. The county routed payments through maintenance codes, Weller said. Road repair, drainage improvement, nothing that would raise questions. You have proof of that? I have my paycheck stubs, marked with the same codes. Harlan looked at the old man. Weller's eyes were wet. Why are you giving this to me now? Because I'm 78 years old. Because I can't sleep. Because I dream about those drums every night and I wake up tasting chemicals. He wiped his face with a trembling hand. I want forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. But I want to die with this off my chest. Maeve closed the notebook. You'll have to testify, if this goes to court. I know. They'll come after you, the same way they came after us. I know. Weller looked at Harlan. I'm ready, whatever it costs. Harlan felt the weight of the notebook in his hands. 30 years of secrets. 30 years of silence. Thank you, he said. Weller nodded. He stood slowly and walked to the door. I'm sorry about Ellen. She was a good woman. She deserved better than what we gave her. He drove away. Harlan watched until the truck disappeared. The notebook joined the other evidence. One more piece of the puzzle. 2 days until Friday. 2 days until the truth came out. The storm hit Thursday night. Rain pounded the roof. Wind bent the trees. Harlan could not sleep. He kept thinking about the taped pit near the hedgerow, the tarps, the stakes. He pulled on boots and a raincoat, drove the truck to the site. The tarps had blown loose. Rain poured into the hole. The stakes were scattered. He climbed out to secure the covering. The mud sucked at his boots. Lightning flashed across the fields. He reached for a stake. The ground shifted beneath him. The wall collapsed. Harlan fell into the pit. Muddy water closed over his legs. His boot caught on something solid. Metal. He tried to pull free. The suction held him. Chemical smell rose through the rain. Sharp. Burning. Wrong. "Help!" he shouted. The word disappeared in the storm. He grabbed the pit wall, pulled. His boot twisted. Pain shot through his ankle. The water was rising. The smell was getting stronger. He thought about Ellen, about the water she drank, about the illness that took her. He would not die here, not in the same poison that killed his wife. He pulled harder. His boot tore free. He scrambled up the crumbling wall. His hands found grass. He dragged himself out of the pit and lay in the rain. Lightning showed the ruined site, drums exposed, brown liquid mixing with floodwater. He crawled to the truck, started the engine, drove home. Inside, he stripped off his clothes and stood under hot water until his skin burned. The mirror showed his face. Pale, hollow, terrified. He had almost disappeared, swallowed by the land he loved, buried with the secrets he was trying to expose. He sat at the kitchen table. His hands would not stop shaking. Tomorrow was Friday. Tomorrow he would face them all. If he survived tonight. Friday evening. The co-op elevator hummed with activity. Trucks lined up for the night shift. Workers moved between buildings. Harlan set up near the old test pit. A settling tank. A pump. Clear tubing running to the contaminated soil. Torres stood nearby with her camera. A man from the State Environmental Office checked equipment. Maeve arranged documents on a folding table. The ledger, the photographs, Weller's notebook. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No, let's do it anyway." Harlan started the pump. Brown water flowed through the tube into the settling tank. Workers stopped to watch. Word spread. People gathered. Torres photographed the flow. The state man took samples. "Test strips," Harlan said. He held up the sealed packets. "Commercial grade. Anyone can akusino. Verify." He dipped a strip into the tank, held it up to the light. The color changed. Outside safe ranges. Clearly, undeniably. "This is what's under my land," Harlan said. "This is what's been in my well water for 30 years. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some faces showed shock. Others showed fear. Caleb pushed through the workers. His face was red. "This is private property. You have no right." "The state has jurisdiction over hazardous waste," the environmental man said. "We have every right." Caleb reached for the electrical panel. "I'm shutting this down." Torres stepped between him and the breaker. "I wouldn't do that." "You can't stop me. I can arrest you for obstruction. Your choice." Caleb's hand hovered over the panel. The crowd watched. Maeve stepped forward with the photographs. These were taken in 1993. They show drums being buried behind this building. Bank vehicles were present. She spread the prints across the table. The images were clear. Damning. Caleb stared at the photographs. His anger drained away. Something else replaced it. Fear. "I didn't make those decisions," he said, "but you knew about them." The settling tank continued to fill. Brown water. Chemical stink. 30 years of buried truth rising to the surface. Harlan watched the crowd. Some turned away, others stayed. The evidence was public now. There was no taking it back. Evan arrived 20 minutes later. Someone had called him. His car skidded on the gravel. He saw the crowd, the equipment, the photographs on the table. "What is this?" he asked. Torres handed him a sample jar. "Evidence. Chain of custody documented." You can't do this without proper authorization. State Environmental Office, the official said. Authorization is implicit when hazardous materials are involved. Evan looked at the settling tank, the test strips, the gathered workers taking pictures with their phones. His smooth confidence cracked. Harlan saw the calculation behind his eyes. I want to speak with you privately, Evan said. Anything you say can be said here. Evan's jaw tightened. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. These are bank memos, he said. From the drought years. They document the Operational Support Committee's activities. Torres took the envelope. Why are you giving us this? Because liability attaches to whoever holds evidence. I'm not going down for decisions made before I was born. She opened the envelope. Harlan read over her shoulder. Operational Support, Drought Contingency. Dated 1993, 1994, 1995. The memos described equipment purchases, disposal logistics, payment structures routed through maintenance accounts. Everything matched the safe documents. Everything confirmed what they already knew. The bank knew, Harlan said. The bank's predecessor knew. I'm cooperating with the investigation. Torres sealed the envelope in an evidence bag. Noted. Evan looked at Harlan. Something shifted in his face. Not guilt, exactly, but something close. I'm sorry about your wife, he said. That wasn't supposed to happen. None of it was supposed to happen, but it did. Evan walked back to his car. He sat behind the wheel for a long time before driving away. The crowd had grown. More workers, some townspeople, a reporter from the county paper. The story was out. The evidence was documented. The truth had witnesses. Harlan felt something loosen in his chest. Not relief, not yet, but something close. The county released a statement Saturday morning. Commissioner Barrow's office. Careful language. Historic practices have come to light regarding disposal methods used during the 1993 to 1995 drought period. The county is cooperating fully with state environmental authorities. Torres called with updates. The state had initiated formal assessment. Surveyors would arrive Monday. Maeve gave a brief statement to the county reporter. She confirmed public records existed. She did not speculate about blame. Let the documents speak for themselves, she said. Harlan signed consent forms for further testing. His land, his well, his hedgerow. The remediation process would take months, maybe years. The contamination had spread through groundwater. Multiple properties were affected. Lawyers began calling, class action, individual suits. Harlan took names but made no commitments. Sunday was quiet. Harlan sat on the porch and watched the fields. The co-op was silent. No trucks, no activity. Workers had been sent home pending investigation. The elevator stood against the sky. The same building from the photographs. The same place where drums had been loaded 30 years ago. Maeve arrived at noon. She brought coffee and sandwiches. How are you feeling? She asked. Tired, empty, relieved. That's a lot. It's been a lot. They sat together in silence. The wind moved through the grass. What happens now? Maeve asked. Lawyers, hearings, depositions, a long road. Will you stay? Harlan looked at his house. Ellen's house, the home they had built together. Where else would I go? Somewhere without poison in the ground. Every place has poison. At least I know where mine is. Maeve nodded. She understood. The investigation was just beginning. The legal battles would take years. The cleanup would take longer. But the truth was out. That was what mattered. Harlan finished his coffee. The afternoon stretched ahead. Quiet, uncertain. Months passed. Winter came and went. Spring arrived with green shoots and muddy roads. Harlan stood at the edge of his hedgerow. The contaminated section had been excavated. Clean soil filled the pit. A sign marked the remediation site. Behind him, a state truck idled. Workers unloaded native grass seed and prairie plants. The strip would take years to establish, roots reaching deep, soil healing slowly. Maeve walked up beside him. She was back at work. Probationary status. New procedures. "The county meeting is tonight," she said. "I know." "You're speaking?" "A few words, nothing long." The meeting room was half empty. Some faces were hostile, others were tired. A few showed something that might have been respect. Harlan stood at the podium. He looked at his neighbors, the people he had known all his life. "This land was poisoned," he said. "Not by strangers, by us, by choices we made when times were hard." He paused. The room was silent. "My wife drank that water for 20 years. She died not knowing why. I have to live with that. We all have to live with what we did and what we allowed." Old Man Weller sat in the back row. His hat was in his hands. His eyes were on the floor. "The cleanup will take time. The lawsuits will take longer. But we can start by telling the truth. About what happened. About who was responsible. About why we stayed silent." He stepped back from the podium. No one spoke. The drive home was quiet. The sun set behind the grain elevator. Orange light spread across the fields. Harlan parked in his yard. He walked to the prairie strip. The first seedlings were emerging, tiny green shoots against dark soil. He knelt and touched the earth. Cool, damp, alive. Ellen had loved this land. She had trusted it. She had died because of it. He stood and looked toward the house. The kitchen light glowed warm. The truth had cost him everything, and it had given him something back. He walked home through the dusk. The land would heal.